Hey there. Uh, so the video you're about to see, which is why this disclaimer is up, it's me playing through a game called Depression Quest, where this is an interactive fiction game where you're playing as somebody who lives with depression. If you are if you are among those people who deal with depression, I advise you not to watch this video. Skip it, move on. I have thousands of other videos you can watch. There are thousands of other videos you can watch on YouTube anyway. The stuff that goes on here, it's pretty heavy. And as I'm playing through it, I'm reflecting on myself. I'm recalling past I'm recalling past experiences of myself and where I was in similar situations as I read through this, to the point that I couldn't even finish the game. I couldn't finish the game. I had to stop. I'll get back to normal games next time. I'm sorry. I just needed to do this. This is a method for me to have a bit of self-reflection. Oh, why am I playing this? All right. So, this is called Depression Quest. Probably the worst title for a game ever, but reason why I'm playing this, to hopefully find some self-discovery for myself. If because well, I would say that the last time I played this years ago, I also tried to record it and I just had to stop because oh, it was really bad. Like it got really bad, and this is my warning to everyone. Like this is my warning to everyone watching this video, assuming that this gets uploaded. If you have if you have emotional issues, if you suffer depression, anything like that, don't watch the video. Just click away, watch something else. This I'm serious. Recalling my last time I played this, I broke. It was like I wasn't moving for a good day and a half to 2 days. I wasn't moving from that spot. So how I'm going to play this game? Because this is essentially more of a graphic novel type of thing without the graphic novel, just huge, very description. I'm going to play it as if it was me and this depressed person's life, because even in this description here, Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in a very literal way. This game is not meant to be a fun or lighthearted experience. If you are currently suffering from the illness and are easily triggered, please be aware that this game uses stark depictions of people in very dark places. If you are suicidal, please stop playing this game and visit the suicide prevention hotline to talk to someone. So let's see how far I can get this time. It also uses audio. Yeah. All right. So here we go. It, it is an early. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. You have significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you have been seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you've met at your day job, which is a little boring but pays the rent. You like to be doing more with your life, as would your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You are also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes makes dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this is probably your fault, and on bad days can feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy. But you're not quite sure how you can break out of it or how other people deal with these feelings and seem so very functional. You spend a lot of nights fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. Oh my god, that's already pegging me. It's already pegging most of me to a T. Outside of like the first two statements, that's pegging me. All right, well, outside of that first statement, it's pegging me. It is unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. You spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so, you found your job motivation flagging more so than usual. You've been in a fog practically all day. Today is simply going through the motions without realizing even what you've been doing half the time. And yet time seemed to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead. You're so you're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers. hmm As you walk home, the streets hiss from recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late, another couple of hours at least. You briefly consider using this serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project that you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel the panic creeping from the back of your brain, unbidden, unbidden, unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and change out of your uncomfortable work clothes, the stress is weighing you down like a heavy, wet, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Oh, just give me. Yeah, that's a lot of my YouTube videos in general. That's a lot of my YouTube videos in general, especially this one. You are depressed, interaction is exhausting you, and you are becoming more and more withdrawn. You are not currently seeking a therapist. You are not currently taking medication for depression. Yeah? So, do you reluctantly sit down in your desk and try to make yourself do something? Turn on the TV telling yourself that you just need a quick half hour to unwind, crawl into bed. You're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything, anyways. Oh, how do I approach that? Well, the first step is already crossed out, and honestly, it wouldn't play out as number one prescribes. That would be me attempting to do that, and then I would just not pay attention, like, oh, I got no work done, and I would feel even worse. So I guess it's number two. Reluctantly sit down at your desk and try to make yourself do something. You stop at your fridge, turn your favorite playlist on, and sit down and start working. You open the last file you're working on, and as soon as your hands touch the keyboard, your mind goes blank. Preaching in the choir. All of the motivation and ideas you had when you arrived home vanish in a flash. Your brain seizes up, and you find yourself physically incapable of any sort of productive thought. You take a break to loosen up, popping into your email inbox, Twitter, and various other internet-based distraction fodder. Ouch. Yeah. Frustrating, this pattern continues throughout the course of the evening. As soon as you try to focus on work, your brain diverts all its energy away from the task at hand. While you keep flipping back to your work, you find the sheer mental effort involved in keeping your brain focused is overwhelming and tiring. Yep. A few Twitter arguments, YouTube videos, and sparse amounts of actual work later, your playlist flips back to track 1, and the ice in your glass is all but melted, diluting the last dregs of Coke you were nursing. You look at the clock. Well, for me, my Coke would be gone, but yeah. You look at the clock and realize that a few hours have passed since you sat down to work, and you made negligible progress. I can just wake up early tomorrow and catch up, you think to yourself as you climb into bed, even though you know that never actually happens. Yeah, I mean, what else am I gonna do? Like, everyone, like, literally, if it's not YouTube, it's Twitter. Like, if it's not YouTube, it's Twitter. And I just end up so interested as to, like, oh, look at this artwork someone posted. Like, oh, this person made a video. And that's how it goes. And I just end up distracted, and there's stuff that's now not even done. It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you from one of her classes, telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment that one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along well enough, but aren't particularly close. You don't have work in the morning and have nothing else particular to do tonight. You're feeling kind of run down, but have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mentioned that you're feeling ill because you're not sure how else to explain these feelings to someone else. And, oh, God. And say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second of silence over the phone, but you can swear you can hear the sound of your partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you could stay over with them tonight after the party. Oh, I mean, I was like, even like I'm not a part. Like, first off, I'm not a party person. I'm not a party or get together person. So yeah, I would totally make up that excuse. And yeah, I'm not feeling well. And yeah, I would not be feeling well. I would just be like, I don't want to. And it's honestly because, and I would say that for me, it's just because I'm not feel like I don't want people to see me. I don't want people to see me in this state. Like, I just want like I would like I just hope. So I generally just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my own thing and hope that the next time is better, or hope that there is a next time. So yeah, I would say that I'm just not feeling well and can't make it. Despite your partner's pleas, you tell Alex that you're unable to make it to the party tonight. You say that you feel too ill and would just drag on everyone. She sighs. She sighs a sigh that you heard many times. Exasperation, but patience. Well, okay. I just hope that you feel better soon. I really miss you. I guess I'll see you next week or something. You apologize profusely and tell Alex that you love and miss her too, and promise to make plans for next weekend. She sounds somewhat distracted and distant as she agrees, says her goodnights, and hangs up. Ooh. You spend the rest of the night beating yourself up for feeling too lousy to go. You leave a few apologetic and loving texts to your partner, and you feel stressed out and forgotten when you don't receive a reply. Yeah, yeah, that's how it goes. That is really how it goes with people, with a lot of people. I mean, and heck, I'm actually at a worse point because I'll barely get asked if I want to go, and then even more so, I'll barely ever get a goodbye, or I'll barely ever get a goodbye. I'll barely get asked if I want to go, or I'm scolded, or they just they or what? Well, I forgot what the fourth one was. It's a little afternoon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, so she decided to invite herself over. Over. Oh God. As you converse, she walks around your place, and you get the distinct impression that you're being inspected. Yep. 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 So what's going on? She asked abruptly. Taking somewhat aback by this left fielder, you tell her that you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you haven't seemed like yourself lately. She gestures to try the dirty dishes piled up in the sink and notices the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Your reticence only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you're having problems at work or with Alex, or if you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden well-meaning but overwhelming inquisition. Under her questions, you become increasingly uncomfortable. You want to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work or with your significant other or friends or anything like that. But all the same, you can't deny that lately you just felt drained and as though you're not really here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You wish you could tell your mother these feelings, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. No, no, she hasn't. She's the kind of person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude, a stance that has reared its head in the past conversations when you've begun to explore the subject with her. You know she's unlikely to be understanding, and you feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you're feeling. So I'm pretty sure this is with a lot of people. And this night we and this is generally our generic answer. Well, this is generally my generic answer, not ours. This is generally my generic answer when I'm questioned with this. Like when this pops up. Because and this is heavily part of the reason. This is heavily part of the reason. But the other thing is that my parents and whatnot, they have their own problems to worry about. And I'm like, you know what? At least from how I've been raised in the past 15 or so years, my problems mean little compared to what they have to deal with. So I'm generally like, hey, don't worry about me. I'll deal with it. Don't worry about me. Everything's fine. I'll deal with it. What about your problems? And I'm okay, Mom. Really. Thanks for worrying about me. Your mother looks at you from across the room with furrowed brows, and you wonder if the tone of your voice was the least bit convincing. She slightly opens her mouth as though she was about to say something more, but instead she digs through her purse for her cell phone, having apparently decided against it. Well, as long as you're okay, honey, her voice trails. As your mother returns to what amounts to more or less small talk, you realize that this part of the conversation has happened a lot recently. Someone will express concern for you or ask if you're okay. Out of seemingly nowhere, you tend to find that it's simpler just to declare that you're okay than to find the right words for complicated and murky feelings. Besides, since none of them are in reaction to a specific event, maybe you really are okay and just complaining about nothing anyway. Yeah, sometimes when you insist that you're okay to those who ask, you have to wonder if you're trying to convince them or yourself. Hmm. It's a lazy Sunday morning. You're idly clicking around online as your phone rings. Sam, a coworker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice when he veers the conversation in a complete different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asked. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and I'm having an awful hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have any pets, right? Oh God, no, no, no! Don't you ask me. It, it takes you a moment to process this new information, and you're caught off guard as it begins earnestly to try to sell you the idea of taking the last of the kittens off his hands. It's not something that you've had specifically considered before, and he seems fairly insistent. Mm-mm, don't, don't do this. She's a real sweetheart. She loves people. She's got all her shots already taken care of, and the vet says she's healthy as a horse. I can bring her over to your place tonight if you're interested. You look around your apartment and try to picture a cat in it as he continues to tell you about how cute she is. You tell him that this is all kind of sudden and that you don't really have anything for the kitten set up here. Yeah, yeah, that'd be my first excuse. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over a litter box and food and all that since you'd really be helping me out in the fix. It's the least I could do. I just don't want to put her in a shelter. Oh, oh man. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt tripped, but decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with a cat around. However, since you've been feeling so down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. Oh man! Oh no! 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 Oh. No. I didn't even get it. Like, I'll put it this way: I didn't even get my two dogs and two cats. That was all my sister. I could have got myself a dog. I could have got myself a cat, but I decided against it because I don't think I'm good enough for it. I don't think I'm good enough to take care of it and take care of one or the other. Although when I look at things, I feel like I've reluctantly been put in that position anyway to take care of it because my sister's not home enough to take care of some of the things that need to be taken care of. Oh, and also at this current point, I already lost my lost those two cats. It's like one died of unexplained complications. The other cat ran off and never came back, not looking well, not looking well in the slightest, and he just ran off and never came back. Lost my first dog due to complications that the veterinarian didn't see. And then I might lose my second dog at the time of this. Oh god. I'll know after the surgery. Nah, I'm not in a good place to be taking on more responsibility right now. I'm sorry, I just can't right now. I hope you find a good home for her. You sit through a few more sales pitch statements that border on guilt trips and rebut them with fabricated excuses that about your landlord not allowing pets before your coworker gives up and thanks you anyway. You wish him luck in finding a home for her and hang up as you feel pangs of guilt as you imagine him having to put her in the shelter. Oh god. You wonder if the chance of the kitten ending up in the shelter was worse than the chance of you being unable to care for the animal and feel pretty awful about yourself regardless. Your apartment's emptiness feels a lot more palpable suddenly, and you wonder if you could have pulled it off. You consider getting a pet in the future after more careful consideration and preparation. The next day at work, you run into your coworker and breathe a sigh of relief as he informs you that he was able to find a good home for the kitten. She was probably better off than she would be with me, you think. Yeah. I can tell that those are old Papa John's pizza boxes in the picture. Oh, just to distract myself. It's a late Friday afternoon and quitting time is just around the corner. A bright, clear day is giving way to a still temperate evening. You can hear your coworkers all around you anxiously making plans for their evenings and weekends, but you're really looking forward to just going home and resting after what turned out to be a very long and taxing work week. I haven't had a day off from YouTube in years. Just before the end of your shift, you get a call from Alex. It seems a group of your mutual friends are heading out to a nearby pub for dinner and drinks to celebrate the end of the week, and they want to know if you'd like to come along. You tentatively tell her that you're emotionally exhausted from the work week, and a social outing like that would just take too much out of you today. You encourage her to go and have a good time, since you know it's been a while since she's gone out with friends. But the effort feels futile since you know that she isn't going to go without you. A couple hours later, you find yourselves in a familiar position on the couch watching comedy shows on Netflix. Wow, I have Netflix. A box of pizza open on the coffee table in front of you. As you look across the couch at her, you start to feel anxious. You feel bad about effectively forcing the two of you to stay in tonight again. While you are always appreciative of your partner's efforts to take your feelings into account and make sure you're socially comfortable, you sincerely worry that you're holding her back from enjoying a more fulfilling relationship. While she does seem to be enjoying spending time with you as the two of you sit in comfortable, you're almost centered silence watching old shows you've each seen 2 or 3 times before. Your ever increasing fear that your relationship is becoming one sided and weighs more and more heavily on you. You feel more like a burden or a ward to her, and it's virtually impossible for you to see what value you could possibly offer her in return. Worst of all, this nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you started to pull away, even from Alex herself. Oh God. Oh God. Oh. Y'all gotta stop pegging me for it. Y'all, you gotta stop pegging me to a T right now. I mean, the only difference is that I don't have a girlfriend, but I do know this feeling. I do know this feeling a lot with so many people. I'm glad the music isn't playing because I think that adds more to the drama. If it is playing, I don't hear it. Oh god, because I know this feeling all too well. And to be honest, I don't even know how I would play this. It would probably be four. I don't want to say anything. Like, I mean, I'm more at this point. I'm more. I would be far too worried about rocking the boat any more than I already have. It's far from the first time that you would have had this conversation with her, and it's one that plays out the same way every time. You explain your fears of being worthless. She tries to tell you that she doesn't see see you that way. And you insist that she's biased or just being nice to you because she's your girlfriend, and she gets frustrated. It never resolves. Nothing new is ever said, and rarely do you feel reassured by it. Occasionally, she tries to broach the subject, trying to discover why you feel like this about yourself. This always makes you feel nervous. You're sometimes convinced that the only reason she's still with you is because she doesn't know how awful you really are. As time goes on, you've gotten more comfortable trying to express bits and pieces of your insecurities with her, but it still causes you to feel very on guard, and it's not a conversation you can have for too long without worrying you're going to scare her away. The weight of unresolved issue in your relationship joins you in the room for a little while, but you dare not pick at it for the rest of the night. Hmm. It's a breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekend, to talk you into leaving the house for coffee to catch up. You meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other, and you can't help but feel like there are a lot more. Well, this is far different. A lot more. But you can't help but feel like they are a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life after school. Well, that's heavily different from me already. What When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed and give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible. You feel incredibly boring while you describe it, despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to question gently while touching your hand and giving you a look of genuine concern on your face. What's wrong? Oh god. Well, that's already quite different from me because I don't have friends from school. I moved around so much that essentially all the friends that I've ever gained in school, have essentially fallen off the face of the earth for the most part. Like I've lost contact with every single one of them due to moving around so much. And no amount of Twitter, Facebook, or whatever helped with that. Insist that nothing is wrong and change the subject. Defensively ask what she means by that. Notice that your hands are shaking. I wish I could just say all three. I wish I could say all three. Notice that my hands are shaking. It's such a small question, but it feels like a bloated gut. You surprise yourself when you realize that you tightly clenched your fist and now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears begin to sting at your eyes. You try to disguise this by tilting your head up and praying that they'll suck back in. Yeah. She suggests that you two get out of there. You feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you, but the two of you end up talking in her car for 2 hours as the words just pour from you. Amanda seems unsure what to say, but she listens and rubs your back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to the doctor about this, and you admit that you haven't. She mentions that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems. But she persists and tells you that she'll email you the doctor's contact information later in the week. Yeah, I probably would have walked into that. If I haven't hit the breaking point, I would have walked into it. I probably would have walked into it. It's a glaringly sunny Monday, and one of the few days your brother Malcolm is in town and free long enough for you two to actually see each other. You have a dental appointment that day, but you make plans for him to pick you up afterwards. Your appointment takes a little longer than expected because your dentist tells you that you started grinding your teeth in your sleep to a worrying degree. Given given how nearly everything in your life has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, this doesn't come as a surprise to you. He suggests that you try reducing your and stress levels and fits you for a night guard. It feels awkward and too big for your mouth when you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror with it in. You finish up your appointment in a hurry and leave about half an hour overdue for meeting your always punctual brother in the parking lot. You finish up as quickly as possible and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car, but you don't see his old Civic anywhere. You pass by the blue Camaro and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realize, but it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. You hop in the passenger seat and compliment him on his new ride as he mentioned that it's a perk for the promotion that he's recently obtained at work. He starts telling you about how much more money he's making, how his career is really taking off, and how he's starting to look at houses with his wife soon. Hey. You clutch the bag containing the night guard in your hand and feel yourself clench your teeth, thinking of your crummy apartment and how long it's been since you've been able to take a day off work without having to worry about making ends meet. He's only 2 years older than you, but it feels like he's eons ahead of you in every other aspect of your lives. So, he asked, how did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. I'll be honest here. Because, I'm not finna. Well, because, it's like, I'll tell him about the tooth grinding problem, but not the stress causing it. It's like, well. And usually I would say to myself that this is a mistake to tell anyone else, because the moment I tell someone this, that's when the news spreads to the entire family, and that's when I feel even worse. That's when news spreads and it's like, oh, because everyone else questions. The dentist said I'm apparently grinding my teeth too much when I'm asleep. Oh, my replies, been stressed out lately, kiddo? Deciding that you don't really want to go into it, you tell him that you don't think that's the case and it's probably just a random thing. He doesn't pry farther and instead begins reminiscing about you when you chipped the baby tooth because he accidentally knocked you over once. You go out to dinner and catch up on things, but feel somewhat distracted by the gnawing anxiety in the back of your mind that you enjoy your brother's company. You still feel like you want nothing more than to go home and hide from the world tonight. It becomes harder for you to try and stuff all your horrible feelings down and go emotionless when someone like the dentist can see a fraction of what goes on inside of your head. It leaves you feeling embarrassed, weak, and you hate yourself for feeling that way. You wonder if you're really fooling anyone into thinking that you're a normal person, and then you wonder if your brother knows and is hanging out with you out of pity tonight. After he drops you back at his apartment, you throw the night guard out. You can't even stand to look at the thing. Oh god, it's already hurting. But I'm not feeling as horrible as I did last time I played so far. I'm just glad I don't have a webcam. A working webcam anyway. It's a dry Sunday morning. You grab your morning coffee and sit down at your desk to check your email. A new message pops up in your inbox almost as you do. It's from Amanda. You remember the meeting in the cafe and awkwardly bring up your feelings to her. Subject: Hey buddy. Hey, sorry it's been a few weeks. I meant to get to this sooner, but it took a while for me to get a hold of my folks back home. Dad told me to say hi, by the way. Anyway, I remembered what we talked about last time, and I saw you, and I hope you aren't insulted, but I asked my mom for the number for her therapist. Don't worry, I didn't tell her who it was for. I think she was worried. I think she's worried about me though. Now though, haha. Anyway, the number is da 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 da. It's a really good office. You should look into it. Talking to someone never hurts. If you're worried about money, don't be. They're one of the few that has a really good sliding scale fee system and won't charge you what what you can't afford. I hope you're feeling better. It's really and I hope you're feeling better. It was really nice seeing you again. Hey, it's still early. It's still early enough that you could call to make an appointment today. What do you do? Mm-mm. I mean, I'm glad somebody gives enough of the damn to like go out of their way for me like that. Certainly happy in that regard. Although I would say I would wish I didn't read the part of like, oh well, my parents are thinking that I'm having trouble now. Haha. Like that would be the part where I would just regret. And in my mind, I would be like, well, if I don't, they're gonna ask me about it the next time, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot, and then they'll scold me. Generally, sleep on it. Sleep on it and see how I'm feeling in the morning. I'm not keen on the idea at all, but I don't want to disappoint her. The thought of picking up the phone and calling someone about this right now is overwhelming. Sure, you're having a hard time lately and have motivation issues, but are you really in need of therapy? Shouldn't you be able to just get over it yourself? Yeah. That's how I feel. What if they put medication that makes you feel like a zombie? Oh God. Yep. Well, I never had that thought. What if you go to the therapist, go and the therapist looks down on you? That has actually happened. This has actually happened. So that's a serious thought. This has happened twice, and and at this point I'm like, I hate doctors. The first one was like the first one. I ended up in a crisis situation that I felt comfortable telling her about it, and she pretty much just that involved like that generally involved me to a lesser degree, but it still involved me, and I dealt with it. And basically, her response was for me to just be like, "Well, screw everything, like screw all those other people involved, and get yourself out of that situation." And I'm like, I can't do that. I was in there like, I can't do that. That would just be too cruel to do to other people. And the second time, it was just the second time it was the doctor. The second time it was the doctor who literally prescribed me medication. First off, I was like, look, the medication's making me feel weird in a certain way, and I'm having days where I just can't get out of bed because of the side effects. He's like, oh, is it working? But is it doing its job? I'm like, well, yes. Well, then don't worry about it. And then the second time, he's sitting there wondering if I have a job that isn't YouTube. Like, and he keeps drilling. Like, if I have a job that isn't YouTube, and if I'd done other things, and it got to the point that he was just like, you know what, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna assign you to somebody else, and do this other stuff, and I'm also gonna give you this medication. Like, give me more medication on top of the meds I'm already taking. I was already taking. And at that point, I just said, screw the doctor. I just said, screw it. Screw that guy. So, yeah, the therapist looking down on you is a real thing. Where was I? What will Alex think about this? Trying to think about all these things at once makes you feel like a very big makes it feel like a very big deal, and you decide to take your time to think on it. The rest of the day passes quickly. At that night, you're having a hard time trying to sleep because your brain is too busy thinking about all these things and imagining all the ways it could go horribly wrong. And looking back at it, but are you really in need of therapy bit? That one go. I can think back to certain other people in my life that essentially frown on that. That essentially just frown on that whole thing. Like, you don't need therapy. Like, you don't need therapy. You just need a like I believe it was my dad that was like, you don't need therapy. You just need a butt whooping. You just need a spanking. Like, you just need punishment. That's all. Like, he was that way. Various teachers were that way. I mean, especially nowadays, teachers are that way. Like, especially nowadays, like, I've seen teachers be that way, or heck, even my years in high school, teachers were that way. They did not care, because it was just like, I got it, because they're like, oh, I got to deal with these bratty kids. I ain't got time to worry about one student's life. You know, that kind of deal. Anyway, the next morning, you check your email again with blurry eyes. Amanda's email is still there, seemingly waiting for you. You are no more decided than you were yesterday. What now? I couldn't deal with it. Honestly, I would rather someone else do it. I would rather someone else do the call, or at least like just be there with me. The sight of Amanda's email in your inbox sets your heart racing. You had almost forgotten about the horribly awkward conversation a few weeks ago. Now, upon reading her email, memories of how ashamed and embarrassed you felt talking about your problems wash over you as if you were experiencing them anew. Overcome by the sudden vivid recollection of your emotional outburst, it's all you can do to close the email as quickly as you can and step away from the computer to try and find something else to take your mind off it. Oh man, it's getting worse. It's an early Wednesday morning. Lately, you developed a nasty habit of waking up 10 to 20 minutes before your alarm rings. That's that's a thing. I thought that was just I thought that was just a common thing. Although I guess it would be a bit unnatural if I'm waking up 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours beforehand. Unfortunately, today is no exception. You lay in bed, each minute ticking closer and closer to wake up time, passing on a swelling wave of ever encroaching dread. Sooner than you would like, your alarm blares its caustic inevitability. You frantically pound the snooze button and then retreat on your blankets as if the warmth of your comforter can shield you from the passage of time. Boy. You almost always have difficulty rising from bed, but today that simple task seems nothing short than Herculean. After several snooze cycles, you decide that you just can't deal with work today. You're incapable of even rousing yourself from bed, let alone going into work and having to force yourself through a workday. Not to mention, you snooze so many times that it would be impossible to make it on time now, anyways. Oh boy. Glad that didn't happen while I was working construction. But still, I know that feeling. I mean, I'm probably due for that to happen at some point. Actually, that did happen, and I just had to resort to backup. I had to resort to backup videos. That happened last week. Oh God. Oh. Because I was like, I got to get some videos recorded and uploaded, and then it just went like, oh crap. It's so late in the morning. It's like it's already late in the morning. There's no way I'm gonna have videos ready to go. I like, you know what? Like, good thing I have this backup video, even though I didn't plan on releasing this. Oh God. Yeah, well, that's the only option. Call your boss, tell him you're sick and you won't be in today. In spite of the fact that you know that it's your job and that you should go, you keep fighting yourself every step of the way. Every time you resolve to climb out of bed, you just go. Your body seems to get heavier as your head gets foggier, and you find yourself unable to actually make yourself move. You grab your phone, dial your boss's number, hoping that it's early enough yet he won't be there and you can just leave a message. Fortunately, after a couple of rings, voicemail picks up and you leave a message explaining that you're sick and won't be in today. As you hang up the phone, you worry that perhaps your message sounds like a lame excuse. You hope your boss won't call or email you to follow up with your message, but for now you're too foggy to do too much of any sort of thinking, and eventually you fall back into a sleep that's both heavy and restless. Change this to me explaining any kind of shit to people on YouTube of what's going on. And you got me as of this moment. Like, change this to me trying to explain to viewers of what the hell's going on. And yeah, I sure as hell do feel like everything I explain is a lame ass excuse. Hell yeah, I feel it's a lame ass excuse. Cause shit, like I don't think that. To be honest, I don't think they give a damn, and they just want the video. I think for the most part, viewers don't give a damn, and they just want the videos. Oh. And if I was like, and it's always been like one of the running thoughts in my mind. If I can't upload videos, or if I can't put the videos out that they want, they'll just go somewhere else. Like I'm not the only guy playing. What the hell am I playing right now? It's like I'm not the only guy playing Blade Arceus from Shining. I'm not the only guy playing Yu-Gi-Oh whatever. I'm not the only guy that played Devil May Cry 2, which that ends at the end of the week, so I gotta find something to put in that place. I'm not the only person playing insert game here. There's hundreds of, not thousands of others that have played it. Only difference is that I can basically not have to worry about people calling me back. I don't have to worry about people calling me back or calling me out on it because they don't normally do so anyway. Oh, I'm hurting. Mm. Oh boy. When you wake up the next morning, short of feeling well rested, you actually feel more stressed out. While it was definitely nice to get a break from work, you're now faced with a new problem you hadn't considered before. You still have to go to work today. While you aren't having the same problems physically getting out of bed you were having yesterday, the prospect of having to face your boss after missing a day at work does not seem appealing in the slightest. You worry that your absence won't be seen as believable or legitimate. That your coworkers and boss will think that you're just trying to half-assedly play hooky. Or worse, you fear that someone will actually ask you what's wrong, being caught in the instance and having to either make up a half-baked excuse or worse, that they'll see right through you and know quickly your mood matching the drizzly weather outside. You know that you have to go into work, but your fear of being perceived as either lazy or defective is making you regret yesterday's decision to take the day off work, and ultimately you feel worse for it. I've had so many of those days. I've had so many of those days. You don't believe it. You wouldn't believe me. And basically the only saving grace is that the only real saving grace is that YouTube is that basically there's this nice wall called the internet between me and everyone else. So I don't have to sit there I don't have to sit there and necessarily deal with it all. Like that is the and yes, I already recognize. I already recognize that's not a good thing. But if you have no idea how much that helps. You have you have no idea how much that helps. Yeah, like every time I have to come up with something, every time I have to explain what the hell is going on, I feel bad. Like I feel horribly bad. It's either I feel it's like I'm feeling frustrated, or I just feel horrible about myself because I'm like, well, look, this is what's going on. And hell, I feel that way now because I had to explain, like, I can't play the console games I was playing. I'm sitting there like, well, I can't play the console games I was playing because shit happened that I had no control over. And it feels like a lame ass excuse. All right. Oh man, damn. Oh boy. All right. I don't like the look of the picture. It's 2 a.m. on a Sunday. You have work in the morning. You roll over to see the sickling green glow of time displayed on your LED alarm clock and let out an exasperated sigh. You've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours now and to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you're overcome with anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job leads to worries about your future, leads to worries about your very identity. You're unable to shake them off long enough to doze off. Your eyes won't even stay shut as your mind races, though through imagined scenarios going horribly wrong, which promptly attribute to your general worthlessness. Yeah? Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Your thoughts run too fast for you to come to a satisfying conclusion to any one of them. Your room is completely silent, but silence has given way to a loud static noise rattling inside your head. Your heart beats loudly and you worry that it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, you'll freak yourself out hard enough that you'll have a heart attack. You have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours. Dang. I'm, you go to like you go to work at 10? Lucky. But anyway, you have to be you have to be awake for work in a mere 8 hours, and you know your performance has been sagging lately, and that this won't help the situation one bit. What do you do? Obviously, I've tried every single one of obviously all of this has been been tried. Well, except for number 5. My computer is my work. So you get out of bed and head to your desk. Laying in bed with nothing but your thoughts keeping you company makes you feel like you're going insane. The harshness of the light coming from the screen makes you squint as you turn it on. Despite how often you find yourself in this exact situation, there have been many nights lately just like this. As you begin reading a news story, an online friend of yours IMs you. And like usually at this point, I just sit there and regret that I would have something like, that I have this shit that I have it open. Be like, fuck, because it'll be that rare one in a million time that they're up. It'll be that rare one in a million time that they're awake and that they say something to me. No offense. You're up late again, I see. Yeah, can't sleep again. Thinking too much again? Correction, thinking. You guessed it. Want to talk about it? You end up talking with Attic for quite some time for quite some time about how you've been feeling. He's always been easy to talk to about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type it out and check it before you send it helps you gather your thoughts. You find it less intimidating in a way to type it all into a prompt than say it out loud. I don't want to be a guy who thinks they can diagnose something because I've read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about that, like a doctor. You pause. You pause. You're not sure if it's how tired you're feeling or being frustrated from mentally eating away at yourself earlier in the night. But what he says rings true. Maybe you should see a doctor about this. We can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like you're going back to sleep anytime soon anyway. Might as well do something while you're awake. Smiley face. I honestly wouldn't want someone helping me out, but oh man. Oh my god. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna get through this again. Because apparently there are endings to this game. And the bad thing is the way the reviews go about it, the way the reviews for this goes about it, it treats it as if it's casual. And I hate that. And I'm obviously trying to distract myself from me looking at myself because I'm like, oh my god, this is everything I go through. To a fucking T. There's only a few slight differences here and there. But yeah, it's still pegging me to a fucking T. And I hate it. uh, it hurts more that I'm willing to tell people online than I am that actually tell people that I know physically. And I already know the reasons for this. Like I already know the reasons why that is. Because essentially it's experience. Alright, keep going. Okay. Let's find you a doctor then. Just remember, there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something. So there's no reason to be ashamed if it's your brain that's sick instead. I don't know anyone that would respond that way, but I I find that a bit I find that a bit comforting and that I can chuckle at that kind of response because I don't know anyone who would respond like that. Anyone in my circle. You Google around an attic, and after a bit of searching, you find a doctor that has gotten really good reviews. You recognize the number as the same number Amanda emailed you a few weeks back. You feel a bit ashamed for failing to do this sooner, but you make note of it. And tell Attic you plan on calling her in the morning before work. You end up going to bed after that. With a slight sense of accomplishment, you tuck yourself into bed with a thought of maybe feeling better soon on your mind. You try not to get your hopes up as you drift off to sleep. I mean, because the times I have said out loud to like friends and family, physically, that I'm just like that I just feel like that I feel like an absolute that I feel like absolute shit. It's always, oh god, stop. It's always followed up with like it's always followed up with like, oh, we got to do something. Like it's always followed up with like, we got to do something. We have, and essentially, because and this is all true story. This is all fucking true story. Essentially, like it always feels like Superman. Like they have to play the unwanted Superman when it happens. In school, I was fine because it just felt like in school, hey, in school, it felt fine because it was just it's just a thing. Like it's just a thing. And for one period of time, and for one period of time, I guess I wasn't depressed or I was too occupied with other shit that I had no time to focus on depression or any other emotional issues. I had to focus on, well, living because of everything that was going on. And then it comes just back to this. I have the unwanted Superman situation. And I would give like this is just from personal experience, but how I do not like how the area I live in deals with emotional problems or any problems for that matter. It was like just for, like aside from the earlier aside from my earlier accounts that I gave with my experiences with the two doctors or with with those two, I literally did, well, I had the hotline called on me. The hotline was literally called on me. And it's like and they were friendly and helpful and then assigned me to some free clinic that's way out the way. I mean, in terms of distance, I'm talking like an hour and a half drive to get all the way out to the free clinic. And you have to be at the free clinic early. They're like, "Oh, well, we'll send you to this free clinic to get you some help with your depression. Get you some help with your depressive episodes and you're not having any suicidal thoughts, yada 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 yada." Okay, so we're going to the free clinic that's like an hour and a half away from where I live. That's already quite the distance. And we have all these people around it, like all these people surrounding me that are not there for anything remotely similar. Like a lot of them just seem to have issues with. A lot of them just seem to have that day just had issues with smoking, and they were getting help with that. Okay, fine. Or like they were getting help for drugs. Fine. I get to the free clinic. They call my name. I'm missing paperwork that I was never told about. They're saying like, oh, you're missing this document and this document and this like you're missing these documents. You're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go all the way over to, I forgot what the heck the place was called. You have to go all the way over to this place, which that's driving another hour. Wait there, get these documents, come back with those documents and turn them in. And they basically said, no, like, well, since you don't have, like, they were like, oh, well, the suicide hotline people should have told you you needed those documents. And I'm like, well, what? Oh yeah, it was pretty freaking bad. And they're like, well, since you have to go get those documents, you're gonna have to, like, you might as well not show up today. You might as well just not show up today because by the time you get back, and then the way we do things here, it's first come first serve. Like you might as well not even bother coming. Like you might as well not even bother coming. So yeah, I was like, so yeah, screwed out of that. It wasn't, and I don't blame. I don't like. I don't. I only blame how the system works. I only blame how the system works. And that's it. And it sucks. I still feel like a horrible person because I put so many people through. I put so many people I know through this kind of shit, and I'm like, and all I'm just sitting there thinking like, stop worrying about me, like just solve your problems, because I don't matter. I don't. Oh my god, I need to push on. I need. Oh, I think I'm reaching the point I was at last time. I don't know. You groggily grab your morning coffee and sit down at your desk and check your email. The note on your left. You notice the note on your left. You left yourself a few days ago with a therapist number on it. You've been somewhat putting it off trying to call her purely out of nervousness, but you feel like you should probably make the decision to do it or throw out the note and stop stressing yourself about it. What do you do? Oh no. Dang. All my other options are gone? Throw the note out. Who are you kidding? You stare at the note for a long time before crumpling in your hand and throwing it out. Therapy is for people with real problems, not whiners like me. This is something that is taught. At least for me, that is something that is taught. And I mean, and heck, even media doesn't help with that. Media doesn't help with that either. Because the media pretty much makes therapy as a joke. Anyway, even if you did think you were worth the resources, you don't know if you could actually bring yourself to dial the number and say the words out loud. Somehow that would make you somehow that would make you feeling seeming eh. Somehow that would make what you're feeling seem that much real. That much more real. Excuse me. If you don't call, some part of you feels like it makes it that much easier to pretend it all isn't happening. Maybe it's for the best, you think. If you can just shove it all down and try to ignore it, you can struggle through the day and hopefully someday just get over it. Opening up is painful and you're not sure if dredging all of this sewage out of your mind will even have a positive effect on you. The therapist will probably laugh at it anyway. Okay. It's a chilling Thursday night, and you've just gotten off work. This has felt like one of the longest days you faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional has happened, there's a ton of minor things that kept going wrong, and coworkers have tried your patience throughout the day. You considered leaving work early, but you've already had enough absences lately on the days you feel too crushed to get by the job to get out of bed and didn't want to risk it. You're lost in thought on the commute home, and your feelings of frustration with your life and the world around you build as you run into minor annoyances, like someone bumping into you really hard as they walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. And in a moment of metacognition, you realize that you don't snap out of it, and you're probably in for a long and trying night as well. These pent-up feelings aren't dying down and are eating at you. You open your front door and stare at your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion overcomes you, and you feel like your energy levels are low enough that you'll likely settle into a single activity tonight. What do you do? I've been at this way too many times lately. I've been at this way too many times, especially lately now, where I gotten frustrated at pets. I got frustrated at pets, like showing up and bugging me. Right, and it's like I got frustrated looking at freaking, like, trying to make YouTube videos. And if and considering that my only option is don't burden anyone with your problems, distract yourself, which is usually my mentality anyway, I'm pretty sure the next thing that's going to happen, I'm fairly certain that the next thing is going to happen is that I'm going to fucking explode. And it's not going to be like, it's not necessarily going to be a burst of anger. It's going to be it's going to be just burst of sadness out of nowhere. And I'll just be yelling at air. Like I'll just be yelling at whatever ghost exists in my house or whatever. What you really want more than anything is to turn your brain off and just disappear for a while. You sink resigningly into your couch and start playing video games, but can't seem to focus on what's happening on screen. Yep. You cycle through a few different games, but tonight everything seems either too tedious or too aggravating for you to play for more than a few minutes. A few of your online friends invite you to play a game, but the prospect of having to talk, let alone cooperate with other people, seems incredibly unpleasant. Yes, always. You decide to give the video game a rest for the evening, though you worry that you've offended your online friends and your next conversation will be awkward because of it, giving you yet another source of stress to weigh down on you tonight. If it's not that, then it's just me. If it's not that, then it's me trying to reach out and then only to be turned down. Either way, same result. You boot up Netflix and cycle through some of your favorite shows and movies that you flagged as wanting to come back to, but again, nothing seems to be able to hold your attention. Yep, that's YouTube. You feel what can only be described as mentally fidgety. like there's an unscratchable itch somewhere on your brain that is becoming increasingly hard to ignore. You send off a quick text to Alex, hoping that the conversation will help you pull you out of your head long enough to relax, but you know she's in class tonight, and the chances of her replying are slim. You head into the kitchen for food and come out with not so much a sandwich, just as peanut butter and 2 pieces of bread. I would only have the 2 pieces of bread. You pace anxiously around your apartment while you eat, irritated both by whatever, if I even have the bread, to be honest. Pace anxiously around your apartment while you eat, irritated by both whatever this nerve-wracking feeling is and by your ability to just ignore it online. Your evening is filled with half-successful attempts at distraction and ultimately head to bed late, head filled with static. Half the time I would try to toast the bread and then forget forget that I actually toasted the bread. Like I just did, damn it. Oh no, not the visit at the parents, not the visit at the parents. I think I better stop. Let's go through one more. Like try and make this an hour and a half. It's a Wednesday evening and you're visiting your parents' house for a holiday. It's one of the handful of times during the year you drive out to visit your own hometown. You've seen random people you have gone to school with around town, whenever bumping into the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating exchange. You've gone through a few of these today, but have been very aware of how much you feel you haven't accomplished. Thankfully, I ain't got to go through that. When you were in high school, you had much larger plans and you feel like you failed to manifest most of them. Yeah, but that feeling's still there. Even if you have managed to, you've largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Yep. Now you're not really sure what you want to do and you felt like you're lacking the ambition or drive to figure it out. Everyone you've caught up with seems so much happier than you, like they got their lives all figured out and you've kind of been feeling like a failure by comparison. Yeah. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow shortly before you all sit down to dinner. He's been traveling for his job lately and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents haven't seen him since before then. During dinner, they all catch up. Malcolm talks about the amazing thing he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks what you've been up to since you've seen last. All the same old, you say. Nothing really new going on. Your mother makes a face. Oh, nothing new. How long are you planning on staying at that job of yours? I wouldn't even thought of excusing myself to the bathroom. Put option 5, remain silent. Or actually option 2. Excuse yourself to the bathroom now. As your mother looks across the table at you expectantly, everything inside you wants to run away. You've had this conversation with her enough to know that anything you say would either be a lie or would result in a lecture. After spending the day feeling like you're a failure already, you can't really handle more of the same from your family, regardless of how well they mean. Actually, I'll be right back. I have to use the restroom. You excuse yourself from the table, despite not actually having to use the facilities. You head to the bathroom, you lock the door behind you, flip down the toilet lid, take a seat, and rest your head on your hands. You take a few deep breaths as your mind runs through your typical self-depreciating scripts, though you still feel as though it's a moment of relief. Even though you love your family, you feel like they don't know you at all. Sometimes this makes them exhausting to be around on nights like this. You wish you could tell them what you're feeling, that sometimes it feels like you're lost in the woods. And that if you were to drop dead in your apartment, the world wouldn't notice. Oh man. You want to make her understand more often than not you feel like an alien. Like there isn't anywhere in the world that feels like a place where you belong, that you have no idea how to fix it or what to do. You wish you could find the word. You wish you could find the words so they would understand you, but you end up feeling like an outsider instead. Instead, you decided to remove yourself from the situation and calm down. You couldn't see a resolution where attempting those things would work, and you needed a moment of space instead. You hear a knock at the door. Malcolm's voice comes through the door. Hey kiddo, you alright in there? You've been in there for a while. Yeah, I was just feeling a little sick. Or if there's anything I can get you, let me know. They're about to serve pie though if you're feeling up to it. Yeah, I'll be out in a minute. Malcolm is quiet for a moment. Hey, just so you know, I'm really proud of you. You hear his big footsteps walk away from the door. You splash some water on your face before leaving to rejoin your family. I can't keep going. I can't. I'm honestly feeling better than I did last time. Oh, I didn't enable sound. Okay. I wish I wish there was a save. I wish there was a save game function cuz I'm not feeling up to I wish there was a save function because I just can't bring myself to continue. Because right now it feels like right now it feels like I'm trying to think of a saying that won't get caught by YouTube censors. I feel like I'm beating myself up as I keep going through this, and I'm just like, and it's literally like I'm just reviewing myself in the mirror. Like that last one. Oh man, I honestly would have just felt like crying. I would have just felt like crying in the bathroom for minutes longer, dry my face, and then walk out. Like, hey, everything's fine. Oh, I don't know if I'll upload this. Like, I don't know if I can finish it. I don't know if I can ever finish this. Uh, I wish there was a save function because I feel like I need to take this in chunks just to get over things. Just to get over and tackle things. Yeah, it it does help for. And this was like the second time I've gone through this. Heck, first or second time I've gone through this. I don't even think I made it this far the last time. I'm gonna have to exit. So yeah, that's Depression Quest. It is a game on Steam. I believe it still is on Steam. And take it from somebody who deals with depression on an off and on basis for the most part. Or, well, yeah, I can relate. Like, I can heavily relate to that. I'm sorry for playing. I apologize to the viewers if they even stayed this long. If you stayed this long, oh my god, you guys are troopers. Like you guys are some serious troopers. I'm sorry for playing this. I'll get back to other games soon. I'll get back to other games after this. I just felt like playing this. Like just to try and as a way to self-examine myself. It's a game on Steam. I don't really recommend that depressed people play this because you might end up feeling worse. I feel a bit worse right now. Not as I have the last couple of times. So I guess I've made some progress. But I do feel worse. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I need a day. I need to take the rest of the day to myself.